Hi everybody, Carol here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am making a Christmas card, a Shadowbox, an accordion Shadowbox card. And these are the measurements, 11 by 5. It's going to be a 5 by 7.5 inch card. You can make it different sizes. These are the instructions. I'll have a steel shot at the end, or the measurements I should say, that you can look at. So this 11 by 5 inch piece of paper I am putting on my scoreboard, and starting from the left I'm going to go a 1/2 inch this mark, this time one time only. The rest of them are an inch. So from 10.5 it goes to 9.5, then I go to 8.5, and then I go to 7.5. So there are 4 score lines on the front. But now I'm going to flip it over and make the score marks on the back. It's supposed to make it easier to fold if you fold on that line. So on the back, I'm going to go directly to the inch mark. So I'll go from 11 to 10, and from 10 to 9, and from 9 to 8. There will be 3 scores on the back, and in other words, these score marks are a 1/2 inch apart. And when we get through with that, this is the back and the left side of the card. I'll do another piece for a 5 by 7.5. I'll do another piece for the front and the right hand side, but I'll cut a window out, and you'll see that in a minute. Now if you want to make this a 5 by 7 card, you just simply can cut off a 1/2 inch off the end from the paper trimmer, and on the little notes I have a little measurement up there for the 5 by 7 cards. You could make it smaller. I mean, this is very flexible. But I fold, accordion fold, away from me, make a burnish mark, back toward myself, and burnish that fold. I think you get a crisper accordion if you do each fold with the burnishing, with the bone folder, back and then forward. And you know, we've pretty much been doing this from childhood, making all kinds of things. Fans come to mind, bow ties. But anyway, and then when I get through doing all that, I do go back and burnish the whole thing, and that way it gives me a chance to line it up pretty well with my fingers and get that all taken care of. Now this piece of paper is actually the cutout of the inside of that, leaving a 1/2 inch frame all around that window. But you can also take it to your trimmer and just cut a 1/2 inch on the top, a 1/2 inch on both sides, a 1/2 inch on the bottom from the last fold. My trimmer is not clear, as you can see. It doesn't have clear plastic so that I can see where those exact marks are. So when I cut it, I do like to use the trimmer to get a nice straight line, but I have to go back with my scissors and cut out those corners. But again, I could just trace around that piece of paper and get the same thing. Now once I get that folded up and pleated up, I like to put these clips on there that gets them accustomed to being folded like that. Now we get to the fun part. The dies, the cutouts of the scenes, what go inside the card. This is a Sheena Douglas die called Winter Scene, with trees and a church. And that's what that looks like. And then the other die that I use is Darice Embossing Essentials Snowflake Border is the name of that die. And so that is what the scene looks like. That is what the snow border looks like. I used 3 of those borders. Now the church has some little windows, so I took a teeny tiny little strip. I wanted to show you how I cut that out, and just glued it behind the church so that the yellow windows showed through. Now this is the back of the card with the accordion fold on the left. I'm going to use the snowflake border on that side, so I'm putting some glue on it, setting aside Tombow glue, and then this is the back of the card. I could just decorate the white, but I wanted to do a blue background, so I started with a blue sheet of paper. Now these little circles, this sheet of paper, I don't know where I got it, but I've saved it. I couldn't stand to throw it away. It looked useful, and I don't think this is what it was intended for, but I'm using it as a mask. And I'm folding up the corner of that circle, one little part of that circle a little bit, for a reason I'll show you in a minute. But anyway, I'm using a makeup sponge and stencil brush, using 2 different colors of ink, just trying to add some interest to the blue that is already there. And you can see off to the right on the white copy paper that there is actually ink that goes onto this. It's hard to see, but it does make a difference, and it adds some dimension and some texture. Now there is the little, what I'm using for a moon, a mask for a moon, and as I pull it off with my tweezers there, you can see that that really does make a difference, that there really is some ink on there. Now that was just a practice to show you a sample, but on the back side is the actual piece I'm going to use, where you can see that I put more ink on it and colored it more all the way across the whole card. And so as I pull off the stencil, this mask, you can see the moon, and then you can also see at the top right where I folded that mask down a little bit, how the color kind of faded over onto the moon, almost to give it a cloudy effect, as if, see right there, as if the clouds are kind of coming across the moon. So I will flip that over. That is what it'll look like. I'll flip it over, put on some Tombow glue. It goes on white, but when it dries, it's clear, and then it is repositionable. I've done the same thing with these. Now I'm going to glue them. The glue is dry. That is the front panel with the picture window cut out, or the frame, and I'm gluing it directly onto the back piece. So now we have accordion folds on the right and the left. Here goes the background piece with the moon. Slip it right on in. Here is the snowflake border. Now this die was not long enough to go all the way across my page, so I cut an extra snowflake border and use it a lot. But I'm adding the extra pieces on the end to make that fit all the way across the back. When you close it up, that's what you get, snowflakes over the moon. Now I'm also going to put another snowflake border on like the second accordion fold there. You just slip it in. You have glue on your border. Slip it in, and it'll be encased into that fold. Here comes the village scene with the church yellow windows. I'm slipping it into one of the folds. You could choose any fold. I think I actually put these onto the same fold because that's the way I wanted it, but you've got 3 folds there you can work with. Now I'm gluing it in. I changed my mind on this. You may can tell by the way I'm patting that I have some foam tape back there, but I end up taking it out. Now on this, I have the glue on the left hand part of the frame, and I'm just showing that I'm gluing it down, and now we have a frame. I'll talk more about that foam tape in a minute. But now these little bitty pieces actually came out of another die. I don't know if they're meant to be stars or snowflakes, but I loved them, and I couldn't just throw them away. They were the negative, of the die piece. And so I've saved them and put one tiny little dot of glue in the middle of it, using my long tweezers there to help me with placement and help me get them on there in that kind of tight space in there. And there are also some teeny tiny little dots that are really cute, and I use them too. And there were some actually dots that are smaller than that. You can barely see them off to the far right on that green piece of paper, but I didn't even have room to put glue onto them. But I'm just placing these little flakes around, and or stars, whatever they are, and they do a nice fill-in background. And of course you could stamp that, but this gives dimension, and they're really nice. So that's the way that works. Patting them down, going back and putting another strip. Well, that's the original one that you saw me put the glue on and set it aside. So I'm lining it up. It is repositionable, lining it up onto the left-hand side of the frame. Going to go back and cut off the extra edges. And then with just a few more of those little snowflakes, I'm going to call them, I'm putting them on the right-hand edge of the frame just to give a little dimension. You can't see them very well here, but up close you can see them, and it's just white on white, but it gives a pretty texture also. One of those little extra pop-outs on that die is that right there. It's kind of star with extra long points to it, and so I'm putting that down there, placing the last snowflake, and then one more little added piece from this snowflake border, which again, make an extra one so you can cut it apart and use it. I put some glue on the top of that so I can stick it onto the back of the frame. Yet one more level of dimension. Now, do you see the foam tape I have down there? I end up taking that off because I didn't need it. But what I'm showing you right now, and I could have edited this out, but I left it because for some reason I put glue all around that frame, just kind of out of habit. But I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't need glue on the top and bottom. So I cut another thin strip. And as I said, I could have edited it out, but I left it in because it ended up being a blessing in disguise. It really added strength and sturdiness to the, and I did it to the top as well, to the top and bottom of the frame. And so I was actually glad it happened. So, but I took the foam tape out, didn't need it. If you want it and it helps you, then of course use it. But this is the finished product of the card. I got a lot of my inspiration from a card maker named Olga Direktorenko, and I'll have her name in the bottom in the description box. But I also thought later on it might be nice to make a belly band for this card so that you can flatten it down, of course, because it's accordion style. And I thought, so I made these strips of paper 1.5 by 8. And the long piece at the top up there, I folded 2 tabs down on either end, a 1/4 inch wide. Now I made another strip like that, but I folded those tabs down 1/8 of an inch, and I cut it in half and punched some holes. And that is so I can put some string or yarn through it. I'm attaching them with glue, and that accounts for the thickness of the card and the accordion. Then I took some yarn. This is silk yarn, but you could use anything. I mean, whatever will fit and go flat enough in an envelope if this is for mailing purposes. Now I kind of did a double tie on this. I came from the front and went to the back. Now I'm coming from the back and coming to the front, just so that it doesn't all just fall apart when you untie it. It still will kind of hang in there. All you do is kind of just have to separate it a little bit, and you won't be losing your strings. But this is the way the card will fit. Since it is kind of frilly and has all these different little points, I didn't want to just slide the belly band on. I wanted to have enough room that I could slide it on easily and then tie it up tight and see, watch it go squash and go flat. You mash it down a little bit, pull that tight, and that is enables it to go into an envelope. So now I'm tying the bow. You can decorate this as much as you want to. Again, an extra border would help. You could cut out a snowflake, glue it all over. You could stick your yarn through that. You could cut it off and stick your yarn through one of the snowflakes. There, as much as you want, time as you want to put into it. Now this is an envelope that I had just to show you if you wanted to mail it. They do make envelopes that are 5.5 by 8.5 or 5.5 by 8 1/8. You could write your name on that or a love note on that. and whatever you want to do with that band. But I hope you enjoyed. I appreciate Olga and her idea, and there are others out there, but I just thought this was so pretty, and I hope you'll enjoy it. There are the measurements if you need to pause and look at those. There are other videos at the end you might like to see. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.